I call to order the October meeting of the Open Source Voting System Technical Advisory Committee of the San Francisco Elections Commission. Today is Thursday, October 10th, 2019, and the time is now 7:27 p.m. I'm the chair, Chris Jordanek. Starting with the roll. I am here. Member Cattell. Here. Member Haig.
Here.
Member Wasserman is absent, and he has an excused absence because he's traveling, and we also have a vacancy. And we are, of course, starting our meeting late today. It was originally scheduled for 6 p.m., but because one of our members could not attend until a little bit later, we decided to start later. Also because our quorum is 3 people. So let's.
It's 7:28 p.m. I don't think you called the timeout yet.
I did.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Sorry.
It was, yeah. Okay, so the next item, general public comment. Public comment on any issue within the committee's general jurisdiction that is not covered by another item on this agenda. Okay, seeing no members of the public. Next item. Agenda item number 3, open source voting project plan. Okay, for this item, I attached the status report that the Department of Technology gave the Elections Commission last month. And we could spend a little bit of time discussing that today. I know one of the commissioners was especially interested in our opinion on this latest report. Commissioner Donaldson had asked. And then actually, I have one more piece of news I learned just a couple days ago, and that is that Sean Roberts, who is the technical lead, he's no longer under contract with the city.
So did they hire 2 people? One?
Just one.
Sean?
Yeah.
So he's
no longer part of the project.
Okay.
So he's gone, so we're back to 0, basically. Or just like existing DT resources.
Yeah,
no.
That's right. And that's not a part of this report because it's happened later.
Okay.
So.
Oh, because this report is from like 3 weeks ago or something.
Yeah. And did anyone from our committee meet with him that you know of?
Well, not while he did attend the community meeting, and I spoke to him after that, but I do know that he, from my understanding, he's personally still interested in open source voting, and he's going to be, I think, just kind of involved as an activist volunteer.
Community member.
Yeah. So we may see him. So let's we can read this out loud together. Not like every word, but. So, actually that reminds me, I forgot to, I meant to attach the executive summary of the meeting, or send it out to the group.
Of last month's
the community meeting.
Oh, the community meeting. Oh yeah, I guess I haven't seen that.
Yeah, so I should send that. But
so I guess one thing I noticed in this was they talked about like trying to connect up with LA and their project.
Yeah, one of the concerns that I have a little bit is involving this consulting firm.
Gartner?
Yeah.
No, so is Gartner the one that contracted with LA to develop the software?
At some stage of the project they were
It
involved.
says Gartner assisted LA in the governance and project management.
Well, I don't know what
project.
that means.
Yeah, I mean, my concern is just because of this, they have very little money. It's like, I imagine the firms are expensive. You know? I mean, what are they going to get out of that?
Also, the governance of the LA project is not something that we've necessarily been happy with. I mean, it's difficult to figure out whether that's whether that's due to decisions made by LA or made by the people that they.
But if they had an outside partner, they might be willing to change their. I mean, just in theory.
Yeah.
They might be willing to change their policy, which maybe is
Yeah.
sort of LA only or whatever, they're not
Yeah.
worried about other,
I think if nothing
jurisdictions.
else, it's good, like, I think it's good that they're trying to pursue some sort of collaboration with LA, even if it just runs into a brick wall of like, just kidding, it's not actually open source, we don't wanna share anything. Then it's, in my opinion, somewhat productive for our city to run into that brick wall to demonstrate that the brick wall exists.
Wait, what was the first part of your sentence?
So I feel like there's a chance that that effort runs into a brick wall of LA going, just kidding, it's not actually open source, we're not gonna share the code with you. Which is what we've been suspecting will happen for a long time. But there's at least some value in someone like, you know, arranging for the car so they can try to drive into the brick wall to
Yeah.
prove that there's a brick wall.
Yeah, but my concern though is why do you need to pay a consulting firm to get that information? Why can't you just
This is
ask
true,
LA?
yeah, exactly.
Oh, so that they're dealing with the consulting
Well,
firm,
read the
not
first
LA?
sentence. Read the first sentence.
Yeah, this works
Oh,
well,
contracting with Gartner
Consulting.
to investigate a partnership? That seems like, why didn't
Yeah.
Sean do that?
Yeah, right, exactly.
Like,
Or why not just ask LA or talk to them?
Yeah.
They've offered to come talk to us.
Yeah, that is a bit of a weird thing, is why do we have to contract a consulting firm to help us talk to another government?
so they're like planning on what would it take, like, so we'll have a whole nother long thing about full stack, you know, this and that.
Well, also, you would think that governments wouldn't know how to talk to each other without consulting with someone to figure out how to talk to another government.
Well, I mean, saying this is something Sean's, I mean, you could say that this is something that Salam was supposed to do, going back.
Right.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they did interview LA, I think.
Yeah, I guess when I read it too quick, so I didn't catch the fact that they were contracting with Gartner.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think pursuing like, going down the path of pursuing an LOI or an MOU with LA seems like.
Or are they gonna give Gartner the contract to develop San Francisco's custom system?
I don't imagine they would do that as a no bid thing, but.
What is an LOI?
Letter of intent.
Okay.
So yeah, what they're pursuing seems like probably a good idea, but I agree with you that contracting with someone, let alone the ones that worked on a project that we don't like very much and worked on an aspect of it that we don't like very much, is maybe not the best way to spend limited money, but.
On the other hand, if you're Gartner and you wanna develop a new product line, then getting multiple cities signed up is a good way to get more cities signed up, which is a way to break into the election system market.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure they've done a lot of work with many cities. I mean, I think they already do work for us.
So, yeah, I think I agree with your skepticism there that it's probably, to go back to my brick wall comment, it's probably productive to do a little bit more work on, like, for DT to do a little bit more work themselves to figure out whether there's a brick wall there before they hire someone to start driving in that direction. And then have them run into the brick wall.
Yeah, but the other problem though is I doubt it's in LA's interest to not just say, well, we haven't decided yet, not to like give a straight out no.
Mm-hmm.
So we could just be.
Right, it could be even worse than a brick wall, it could just be like
A foam wall.
Yeah, exactly, it's moving forever into the distance, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
But then number 3, the RLA stuff, that seems reasonably exciting. I don't know who Democracy Fund is. I am happy that someone is finally engaging with Colorado and like looking into the RLA stuff.
So, I forget, there was a state law or something that said that you could use RLA on a test basis for 2020 elections.
Well, I think,
Let's see.
yeah, but I mean, what is that value though? I
I guess it's in lieu of the 1%
Oh,
yes.
count.
Yeah.
This bill would authorize the use of risk limiting audits in lieu of the 1% manual tally, beginning with the March 3rd, 2020 statewide primary election. The bill would require the Secretary of State to adopt regulations to implement and administer risk limiting audits, and the bill would repeal these provisions on January 1, 2021, which means it only applies to 2 elections.
Yeah, so I asked about this item at the commission meeting, and there's a couple of components to this. Number one, the Department of Elections is independently working with a woman named Jennifer Morrell, who is one of Philip Stark's colleagues.
Yes,
So
because the math on that is still not as solid, right? Like figuring out how to do RLA for RCV is still, my understanding is it's still a developing thing?
Yeah, well, there's a paper that was written on how to do it, but it's,
Okay.
the software isn't written. But
Right.
what I was saying is that the department she is helping the department just implement the RLA for the non-RCV races.
Right, because it's also in the, because it's also in the Dominion contract, isn't it?
I think
Like,
so.
there's some sort of obligation
Oh,
for them
really?
to
For RLA?
cooperate with RLA stuff, yeah.
So do they have imprinters on their scanners?
I think they do,
I think they do, yeah.
but you don't need them. I mean, there's different
Well,
versions.
yeah, because you can count like the third ballot in this batch or something.
That, or else there's also the, I think it's called the ballot polling style, where you just do a random sample. You don't have you know the difference to that?
Of what?
Do you know?
Yeah, I don't remember exactly how it works, but it gives you less good guarantees about how many, like if you have serial numbers, then you can get away with auditing way fewer ballots, but yeah, there are ways to do it if you, like you can do the batch method or, I don't remember how the polling method works.
Well, so there's, the name we lived to know, there's 2 classes of RLAs. There's the ballot polling method, and then there's also it's the other one where you check individual ballot comparison, I think.
Right.
So with the ballot comparison, it's like, give me, like you say, ballot number 275.
CVR?
Yeah. But with the ballot polling, you could just,
You pull ballots, count it, and then gather the statistics and see if it changed.
Yeah, like you
Results
just
change.
give me 20 ballots at random from the entire universe of
Like
ballots.
a exit poll or something.
Yeah, so the statistics are a little bit
Yeah.
different, and you have to do a little bit more.
Yeah, and apparently, I didn't know this, but Colorado actually uses a mix of those methods.
Oh.
Most counties use ballot comparison, but there are a few counties that don't have CVRs, and so they use a ballot polling method instead.
So some of them used open count where they scanned them.
Yeah, that's another thing that they've done for academic research before, is if you scan everything and then write some software that just like re-adjudicates them from scratch, then you might produce a slightly different result, but now you can audit that result instead of auditing like the real results.
That's basically what the whole point of open count and why
Yeah.
they developed it to scan.
Yeah, so I guess the reason I bring this up is that, so in addition to that departmental effort, DT is working on the sidetrack of the RCV part of it, because this would require software to be written, because they have to like essentially implement this academic paper.
Mm-hmm.
But of course, I think they could build on the existing software, because that actually the software they were really using.
Yeah. Yeah. So
I'm not sure if they're still using it or not.
Who, Colorado?
Yeah.
I believe they are.
Do you want to Google the IRV RLA paper? It's written by 3 Australian researchers.
Oh, that makes sense, actually.
Yeah.
And some of the people at the election security conference last March at Google were there, and also the woman that did it was at DEF CON this year in the voting village.
Which one?
I can't remember her name.
That did what?
She was involved in the Colorado RLA.
Oh, okay. Maybe do you think it's the woman I mentioned?
Could be.
Okay. I don't know why Vanessa Teague is a name that's familiar to me, but she is one of the authors, and she is at University of Melbourne.
You found the paper?
I think I found the
It's from
paper.
like March.
Yep, 20th of March 2019.
So if you have a couple extra hours of time, you can look at the Voting Village videos from last year's DEF CON.
Is it a condensed video? Or?
Some of them are like 10 minutes long, some are like, Padilla's given up and I didn't bother listening to the whole talk, but others were more like technical oriented. And
so it's not like an open space for 2 days, it's like...
well, they had an open space for people to go in and play with equipment, but they had certain sessions that were videotaped. So the videotapes are the presentation sessions, and some were broken down to like 10-minute quick talks, and one was a panel discussion, one was like Petit and a few others, and then others were more like talking about the machines and what they did with it, or one was like demonstrating how they like hacked a machine.
Did you watch all of them or part of them?
I didn't watch the panel discussions.
You did or you didn't?
No, I didn't watch, but I listened to the other ones. So I thought they were interesting, so it's worth Googling. I think this year's, well, last time I checked, this year's DEF CON videos weren't up.
Okay.
So this was last year's. And I learned a bunch of stuff, like the weird things with the scanners, like the scanners have intelligent three-hole punch elimination that looks, and the holes look just like ballot marks.
Yeah, it's the case of being too intelligent. With that.
That was the woman that I guess did the RLAs, talked about that. And they were scanning.
Okay, so...
I'm emailing you the link to the paper, Chris, so that you can circulate it if you like.
Okay. This was a paper on
how to do RLAs for ranked choice elections.
Yeah.
For
I mean, just it seemed like there's an obvious way to do it, like that you could ensure that and then the next set of rankings,
well,
are within.
It's not obvious, so that's why.
Yeah, I want to read this sometime when I have more time.
But so maybe should I include that as part of the agenda packet for the next meeting?
I don't know.
Maybe I could do a link to it, like.
Yeah, maybe you can include it in your list of interesting links for next month. Because I don't know that we have to get into the weeds on that.
Yeah.
I think the important thing is, it sounds like the important things for us to respond to that report were skepticism regarding them hiring people just to, when like LA might not be receptive or might just like stonewall it indefinitely. And with 3, you said there's a parallel effort with DOE to work on RLA stuff. Although you said they would only do RLA for the non-ranked choice elections.
No, what I was saying is that the department, and this is all like very last minute, because there's only a few weeks left, but what I was saying is the department is working with Jennifer to see how much piloting of RLA they can do for the non-RCB contests.
Okay.
And then DT is seeing if they would be able to do anything around RCB for this election.
Okay. So it sounds like there's at least not a huge amount of overlap in the sense that one group is pursuing the non-RCB stuff and the other group is pursuing the RCBs. I mean, they should still be talking to each other.
I think they're both. I think Jennifer is involved in both of those
Okay,
groups.
that would be good.
So
Yeah.
I think on our side it's 2 different groups talking to the same group on the other side.
Right. Our side being like the city.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I guess what I meant was it's not a problem with RCB, is that you could, I mean, maybe it's hard to describe the exact probability, but if you bound it, like you could come up with a upper bound on the second, third choice ones that are
Should read the
practical.
You should read the paper.
Yeah, I'm gonna.
That's what it gets into.
Yeah.
I'm gonna read this paper at some point.
Yeah, so if you forward me the link, that would
Yeah,
be great.
I sent it to Chris and then he can
Yeah, and
circulate it however.
if you look it up, it's just Google IRV RLA.
Yeah, RAV RLA paper.
What's that? How
If
do
you
you spell
Google
it?
IRV
IRV?
space RLA space paper,
IRV meaning instrument.
and then it's
Instant runoff voting?
it's a paper by M. Blom.
Ballot polling risk
that might be the,
Limiting audits for IRV elections.
that's a different one. Let's see what the title of mine is. The title of the one that I found is Risk Limiting Audits for IRV Elections. So maybe Google that phrase.
By Blum.
Yeah, but maybe Google this one.
Okay. I have a different paper by the same author.
Yeah, I also found that one. I just found that one too. I wonder when that one is from.
I guess I noticed that some of these have been published in multiple places.
Yeah, I mean, it could be maybe they're variations on each other, or maybe it's a preliminary announcement, who knows?
It looks like, yeah, I think it's the same paper, just with worse formatting.
Okay.
Oh, one's from did you get yours from archive.org?
Yeah.
Could be the pre.
Now, the other one is from
And that's
the
March
University of Melbourne
22
website.
of this year.
Yes. No, that's the one.
The other one is, I don't know
Undated?
the date. Okay.
It's from the University of Melbourne website. Is where I got it from.
Yeah,
The archive.org one seems to be better formatted.
Yeah, so the other thing I think would be useful to know is like how much money is left.
Yeah,
Budget.
and how much are they anticipating spending on the things that they're talking about?
Yeah.
And how much have they spent?
So what's the action item then from us?
Just, I mean, nothing really.
Okay.
I mean, they wanted to know
Well,
if
you
you had
said,
any thoughts on.
you said the Elections Commission
The
wanted to know.
Elections Commission.
Oh, they were interested in if we had any thoughts on.
So you can just personally pass on our thoughts?
Yeah.
Okay.
And if there's anything you want me to mention.
Just what we've already talked about.
Okay. Yeah, okay, so anything else on, number 2 or number 3? I'll take public comment on this item, seeing no members of the public. Should we move on to next item? Okay, so next item, item number 4, approval of minutes of previous meetings. For this item, we don't actually have any of the documents ready for review. So Tony did get me the June one last night, but I didn't have a chance to format it yet. And I guess I'll take care of today's meeting.
Okay, cool, thank you.
Yeah. So public comment on this item? Seeing none. And then, Rowan, do you think you could finish yours for the next meeting?
I should be able to finish mine, yeah, it's just,
Okay, that's fine.
should have time, maybe even the weekend after next one.
Okay, so next item, item number 5, administration. Let's see.
When is our next meeting? I think normally it would be, if we do second Thursday, it's gonna be November 4th. Did we talk about when the next meeting would be, when the November meeting would be last month?
Oh, I think we just
Would it be fun?
agreed on keeping it.
Okay. Oh, yeah, I think that's right, you might have.
So it looks like it's gonna be November 14th.
Cool. And then the next commission meeting is on the 16th.
Would you wanna go to that, Ron?
I probably can, let me check. This is Wednesday. October 16 is, yeah, is when it is. Yeah, I can probably make it to that,
Okay, cool.
so I will.
All right. And our written report was presented to the commission at the last meeting, and it's on our website. Anything else on this item? Seeing no members of the public. Okay, I'm gonna move on to item number 6, member reports. Okay, so, would anyone like to talk about anything that they, learned or did research on, or?
The only thing I have is related to
Number 8?
ORR, yeah.
Okay. Well, then we'll get to that. Okay, I attached a document because there were 2 things I learned a little bit about since the last meeting. And the first is that Microsoft's Election Guard was published a couple weeks ago, and I went to an event, it was at GitHub. It's kind of like a happy hour where they took kind of,
At physical GitHub?
yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, they're opposite someone.
The first time I'd ever been in the office. And there were, it was just kind of like, there were people that were working on the election guard project over there. And so that code is now open source, and I think they're still working on it. And then there's a link there to that. And
So it seemed like to use, well, I have to reread it, but when I looked at it before, it's like you have to do a lot. It doesn't just work for a normal election like RLA. You have to do these special things.
yes, it
on your
requires,
ballots.
it requires very specific user interface, I think.
So it requires ballot marking devices?
I think so, yeah.
Well, it's like the star voting. It's like, yeah, you decide, okay, I'm gonna mark it, but then I'm gonna like cancel it or not cancel it, and then like who's gonna, like only a security wonk is gonna do those things.
Well, the point though is you don't need everyone to be doing that for it to work.
But well, even 1/10 of 1% of people do that.
I don't know. Well, so
Well, I just, my comment is that it's such a complex, esoteric, procedural thing that involves voters that,
yeah,
same thing as like reading the ticker tape that comes out of the machine that's hard to read. Like,
Well,
maybe not all of them will read it, but, you know.
well, here's what's different though. Like, you get to take home it gives you like a tracking number,
Yeah.
and then so like the ticker tape thing, like you have to actually stick around until after 8 p.m. Like this you can take home. But I don't know, like maybe if you're involved in a campaign and you really care about the election, you have a reason to do this.
Anyway, I need to reread the details of it, because
Yeah.
I just read it really quickly, so.
Yeah, in the SDK repo, it has a link to a different repo called SDK specification, and that has like narrative about how it works. And I've actually been starting to learn about how the end-to-end verifiability works. But it's interesting stuff.
Yeah. When I have more free time, I look forward to reading up on all these things.
Yeah, because even though it's like you say, it's wonky, but the thing is, it buys you a lot. It gives you very strong guarantees. And then I also met with one of the people who worked on the RC tabulator.
Oh, the bright spots thing?
Yeah.
So who did that, or?
It's
do you know?
three people that are, I think they all live in San Francisco. One of them actually is the husband of Charlotte Hill, who's.
Oh, yeah. Oh, he said that he was working on something like that.
Oh, yeah.
There was a fair vote party that I went to at one point, and Charlotte wasn't there, but her husband was there, and he mentioned that he was working on something like that, and so I decided that I wanted to pump him for information about it, and he left before I could do that. I got distracted talking to other people at the party, and then he turned out to have left before I did.
Okay. And
So-
then one of them actually was at the community meeting too.
Okay, cool.
Not him, but someone else. What were you gonna say?
Just, it's Java code. And I guess it has a certain expected format of CVRs, but I don't know, well, that's sort of a problem just in general. Like if you're getting RCV, what are the cast vote record formats? You have to
Yeah.
somehow either write a front end to convert it into some intermediate format, or modify the code to adapt to whatever format
Yeah, so
you're reading.
Lewis, when I met with him to learn about the project, I told him what we would need so we could hook up to ORR.
So is he reading the San Francisco cast vote records that used to be published?
He's starting to look at that now, yeah.
Oh.
So they would do it.
But I thought that it says that they wrote it for San Francisco, or somewhere it says that.
I don't think so.
Oh, they're just from San Francisco.
Yeah.
But you said it's, based in San Francisco.
Yeah, but they actually
But
wrote it from
Michigan. They wrote it from Michigan?
Well, they got it certified.
Okay.
They got it
But at least
certified.
Michigan certified them.
You know.
So I'm surprised that Michigan needed it.
Well, so this is like a tangent, but a city in Michigan, East Point, there was a voting rights lawsuit, and then the way they resolved that was to start using STV. I think STV or RCV.
What's STV?
Like multi-winner RCV, I guess. Yeah.
It's multi-winner.
Oh,
entries for. It's the.
I've never heard of STV.
Oh, you should look it up.
Single transferable vote is what it stands for.
Oh, okay.
But the way that it differs from the RCV, from like single winner, is that if there's like you're electing 3 people, then all you need is to get like more than 25%, right? Because there can't be 4 candidates that each get more than 25%, because then the total would add up to more than 100. So like 25% plus 1 vote is the threshold, and so when a candidate, either through straight up votes or through eliminations of other people, gets more than that number, they get declared one of the winners, but also they will have some votes left over. They'll have some amount of excess votes, and then those excess votes get redistributed in proportion.
Oh, I see, that's.
Like proportionally to like what the proportions of second choices were for the.
Oh, so once they make it, then.
Which means the algorithm is really confusing, because it results in fractional votes being redistributed as well. Because there could be.
Depending on which algorithm you use.
Yeah, well, yeah, I think it.
It was the random transfer method.
Yeah, that's true, yeah.
So in the end, the winners represent like a proportional cross-section of the.
Yeah, actually, I was on the League of Women Voters. They had a workshop studying different election systems, different alternatives. It was kind of interesting. So, but it seemed like ranked choice was like a solution that did everything. Because if you elect a city council with 5 people, so instead of doing it geographically, if you do it through ranked choice voting, then if 20% of the people are reading, writing, arithmetic, and 20% are math and science, and 20% are sports, each one will get their first choice on the
council.
On the council, so it'll proportionate it ineffectively does proportional representation by sort of political philosophy.
Yeah, and it's a very good way, like what you said about like the voting rights lawsuits. It's a very good way of mitigating, of not getting sued for voting rights violations, because as long as like 1/nth of your city is from a certain population, that system guarantees that they'll be able to elect a candidate from their community.
Or district.
Yeah, I mean, what I mean is, often they get sued over like minority representation. I just meant 1/nth within the district that they're being elected. Yeah, but if you have like an at-large council that's elected through multi-winner RCV, then it doesn't matter how you draw your districts, because there are no districts.
Well, like Santa Clara, it was on the ballot in Santa Clara a couple years ago.
But where
For city elections?
And their plan was to have divide the city into 2 districts, each electing 3 people, I think.
Okay, cool, yeah.
For the council?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lost.
Yeah, so it's funny that no one is like done that thing where it's a whole pool of ranked choice.
Yeah. So do you see now that, like, STV, it's the same
Well,
thing?
it's-
It's the same thing that they were discussed that you were talking about.
Yeah.
It's the same.
Well, I guess when you're saying they redistribute the votes, that's a little different than if you only redistribute votes from the losers.
Yeah, well, it's because what
So,
if,
I mean, on the
what if, in your analogy, like, what if 40% of the city are sports people, right? Then they should be getting 2 counselors.
Yeah,
So then they all elect like the first sports counselor, and then that person has like way too many votes. So then those votes need to get redistributed so the second sports guy also gets elected. That's sort of the thought behind it.
And then incidentally, the SB 212, this is one of the options for.
I think the way the other way to do it is you do RCV, you eliminate the losers, and then you get the first N highest votes total.
Right, but then you have the.
But there's no STV, like
Yeah.
if you vote for this as first choice, then that's
Right,
your
but then-
vote.
then
It's
you
only when you
get-
vote for the other ones
Yeah.
that your vote gets transferred.
Right, but then those sports people in my analogy have to like coordinate to like
Yeah.
half of them has to vote for the one person and half of them has to vote for the other
Yeah.
person, and then they get 2 counselors, and if they all vote for the same person, they only get
Yeah.
1. So that's sort of the problem it tries to solve.
Yeah, so yeah, I talked to Lewis about, changes that they can make to their software. Number one, to tally San Francisco's.
Well, I guess the format's gonna be different from last year.
Yeah.
It'll be that JSON that you mentioned.
And I told him that. And then also that we would like the round by round to be in a structured format for us to consume. And he understood all that. So,
Right, because we want to do results formatting with like program information.
yeah. Okay, so anything else? That's what I had to present. And then you said you had stuff about OR. Oh, did anyone go to the integrity conference last weekend?
No, I couldn't make it. Like I said, I have family visiting, and so it
Oh,
also
okay.
kept me from attending this time.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, so seeing no members of the public, so no public comment, then let's move on to number 7. Topics for future discussion. Okay.
Oh, I just noticed here in the election card, they also have a ballot marking device reference implementation.
There you go. What's that code look like?
I just clicked on it,
Oh,
so.
I think it's the voting works.
It didn't look like when I first looked at it. It's a different group. Well, who's Center for Civic Design? I mean, I don't think, oh no, it is Voting Works. Yeah, it's Voting Works.
Yeah. But yeah, there's a lot of material here. So, are there any topics that you're interested in that we didn't mention at the last meeting? We could talk about the election next.
Oh yeah. I should.
You want to do that?
I am going to be poll worker again at the next election. Also, time permitting, I want to like give the Bright Spots RCV software a spin and run both all the new results through them. Although if you're already working on that, then I will.
I know.
Okay, cool. I want to try it out at some point and see if I can get it to reproduce results from either the last election or this upcoming one after it's happened.
Okay.
Oh yeah, and I also did read the election plan for the election, and I'm sure I got it from the commission agenda, so I'm sure you did too.
Mm-hmm.
But the interesting things that I wrote down from that are that, so Carl, you were right, the scanners do imprint the ballots with an ID and a timestamp, which they then use for RLA like selection and comparison, or they will use once they implement RLA. And they're intending to pilot RLA on either a small sample of ballots or as some sort of supplemental audit. It sounds like what they were looking at is getting some sort of sampling of mail ballots and doing RLA on that as like a trial run. They're going to publish images, which you already knew. They're also going to publish an adjudication log, which is interesting. So every CVR and every like ballot image has a log that records how the machine interpreted the ballot, but then if the ballot got thrown to a human for a manual correction of some sort, it also records all like subsequent reinterpretations of the ballot.
So Chris sent me, I guess, documentation on their, was it JSON format?
This was 2
Or
months
cast
ago.
vote records, yeah.
Like a couple months ago.
Yeah. So, but it had exactly what you're saying.
Right.
That the CVR format itself has elements that say, oh, this is adjudicated, this is like a revision.
Right.
And you have the like original and you have the revised version that was subject to adjudication. So it's, all that's in the raw data of
CVR
CVR.
format that grows over time.
Yeah.
Oh, it's not as bad as their XML data summary, but we'll talk about that later.
And then the final thing that I thought you might find interesting, Carl, is that they're also going to publish the transaction logs from the voting equipment. So the logs produced by the scanners and by the precinct scanners and I think also the accessible ballot marking devices and the central scanners, and I forget exactly what's recorded in those transaction logs, but whatever it is, they'll publish them.
So how did you find out that?
By reading like the 80-page document that describes in detail how they're going to run the election.
Oh, okay. I guess that's new.
They publish one, the department produces one every time they run an election. It's just, the transaction log stuff is new, like a bunch of the stuff is new because of the new voting system, so.
But, so I guess on one thing, I noticed, I think I sent a flame to Chris once, just on data accessibility. It's like really you get, just, a chip off of that huge pile that they have. It's not open.
Mm.
So like they're required to, show the ballot measures for inspection, but it's only if you go down to the department in the office and ask for the piece of paper. It's not online. So like the measure content is not there.
Mm-hmm.
Even the measured contest codes and things are not, weren't published this time. I don't know if maybe they didn't enter in the system, but.
Wait, by a certain date, or they weren't, or is it they just haven't been available yet?
None of it's in the open data.
So
It's
you're
like,
saying-
it's like open data, but it's not, they publish a couple, few things, but not.
Well, so are you saying it's not online at all, or it's just not as an open data format?
It's not, well, like things like now there's stuff on the measures, but.
That's what I'm asking you, yeah.
So they publish on their own measure pages things, but there's state law that requires the filings to be scrutinized by the public. And what you have to scrutinize is not accessible electronically.
But you're saying that you want access
I'm just
to
saying there's a
original
state,
documents?
well, the state law requires that documents be made public for inspection and comment, but it's not, they're only accessible by paper.
Oh, I see. Well, what I'm asking you is the purpose of that law to make like a Xerox copy available for inspection, or is it?
Well,
or
it's just allow
like-
the public to know what's coming up on the election and be able to.
What I mean is it more like just like the text that is supposed to be public, or actually what the filing itself looks like the signature and everything?
I don't think it's the signature, I think it's the content.
Oh, the content, okay.
I mean, the purpose is for public scrutiny.
But is the content available today yet, or is it still not available?
Well, the legal notification is not available today. What's on there's, on San Francisco's election site, they do have the full text.
So are you saying it wasn't provided soon enough, or it's?
It wasn't provided
It's
at
still
the
not
legal
provided.
time for
Okay.
public disclosure.
Okay, it wasn't provided soon enough online.
I mean, in some counties don't publish it at all.
Okay. Yeah.
But the thing is, there's a state law requiring public notice, and
Well,
you can't get it.
Your
It's
flaming-
like
Your flaming email says, at least for one of the things, that 0 counties are doing.
Yeah, you're right.
You can't be too mad.
No, it's just my frustration that,
Well-
you know, we talk about open data.
Well, I mean,
but San Francisco is pretty progressive.
I mean, hopefully if we had an open source system, it could help alleviate some of this.
Well, especially if you do it right, where, you know, you have digital signatures on all the data and you have to publish it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I mean, that's the best way to maintain voting integrity, if you ask me, is to make all your computer files public.
Oh, regarding the transaction logs and
Mm-hmm.
is there any risk to, like disclosing, revealing the identity of the voter? You know, from what you read?
I don't remember what I read about transaction logs like,
Or no,
exactly.
not the
because-
transaction logs, I mean the imprint.
Oh, the imprint stuff.
Because people could
Yeah,
cross
so it does stamp timestamps on the ballots.
as it's being scanned.
Yes. So
Is that on
for
the
a
precinct scanners?
Yes.
Because then you, as an election observer, could go in the polling place and just take notes of who's.
Yeah, it seems weird that they stamp the timestamp on the ballot, because then they're also making available a physical image of the ballot, right?
But is it a timestamp or is it a serial number?
You just said it was.
I think it was a serial number and a timestamp that they imprint on it.
It seems kind of strange that we use a timestamp.
Yeah, that's.
You know, I didn't
I
notice
mean,
that.
but there's a big argument kind of going on, the NIST election standards saying you must not disclose the order of the, you know, so if you, in other words, like, so they're even saying, well, if you have cast vote records, you have to scramble the order, and if you print a serial number, it has to be a random number.
Sorry, this is not for precincts, so I missed this bit. The relevant thing, I'll read the relevant bit from the election plan. This is on page 23 of the election plan. All vote by mail ballots, accepted provisional ballots, ballots deposited in auxiliary bins, remade ballots, and ballots with write-in votes, all of which require adjudication, will be processed on ICC scanners, those are central scanners, and bear imprints. Each imprint will be composed of a date, military time, tabulator number, batch number, and ballot number. Ballot cards that were scanned more than once for technical reasons will have more than one imprint. So it sounds like they're only doing this imprinting for centrally scanned ballots, or at least that's what
But
this.
I thought provisional ballots were still centrally scanned.
They are, yeah. So all the ballot types they describe are centrally scanned.
But only after they've been verified.
Yeah, because
Oh.
provisional ballots are not scanned locally.
So that also brings up another point of this JSON format. So they handle provisional ballots in the sense that you may have a cast vote record, but not all of the contests are allowed. Because like if you're in, if you use a ballot that was at that precinct and your home precinct is a different one, then some of the contests can't be on, so the format has a way to indicate that in the CVR.
Is that the discussion in this debate, is that going on now, or was that a while ago?
Fairly recently,
Okay.
like within like a month ago maybe.
Did they resolve it yet?
Oh, I think they were pretty adamant that there shall be no
Well, that's good.
no
right?
order.
That's good, right? Or you're just saying it conflicts with this?
I don't.
Well, for centrally scanned.
For centrally scanned doesn't.
I guess it's the sort of order of arrival is randomized. But like if you put serial numbers on the, I mean, the thing is, if you stack them in a, there's no one like I put mine in Santa Clara, I stuck it in the ballot box, so they're still in order. But
Yeah,
so
so
people didn't care, oh, well, there's no requirement that people shuffle the ballots.
But it's not being publicly disclosed, though, I guess. It's not.
I guess it's pretty difficult to observe, like, the centrally scanned ballots, it's really difficult to observe in what order they would arrive, right?
I think, but I mean, like, the ballots not being shuffled physically is different from when they release the CVR file, ensuring that the data is not in the same order. There's a difference there, you know what I mean?
Well, but I don't know if the software reorders the CVRs.
Well, it should. I think that's the point, right?
Yeah.
So, but that's.
Or even
but
if
I'm
you're
saying
recording it
that's-
on a machine, then you have to record it in a way that's randomized, which gets quite tricky.
Well, I mean, you could lexicographically sort the data, and then you don't have to do anything random.
Yeah.
But I mean, a transaction log, like, you'd wanna make sure that that doesn't reveal. 'Cause that.
It depends what's in the transaction log, like if it logs every scan, or it logs, okay, I started up and I shut down.
With the ID number or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, so the transaction logs are from, polling places, City Hall, scanning equipment.
I mean, if it says like, transaction log, 3 PM, there was an undervoted ballot with an overvote, then
Yeah.
you can kind of
Yeah, I don't
start.
think that, the sample of the transaction log that they're showing doesn't lead me to believe that,
Yeah.
it would be bad. I think it just seems to show things like, for the ballot marking devices, it sounds like it records a timestamp of every time that a new voting session was started. So if there's I guess if you have like an accessible ballot marking device at a precinct, the number of times those get used per precinct is very low, right? Like, it's 0 for a lot of them and like 1 or 2 for a lot of others. So you would, for like the 2 ballots that came from that precinct that were cast on an accessible ballot marking device, you would know what time they were.
Yeah.
What time the voter started and what time the voter finished in terms of the ballot.
I guess I'm wondering what recent cases where the information in the transaction log would be useful.
Yeah, useful for purposes other than doxing people?
I mean, they're useful.
Like, not very useful.
Well, I guess the idea of publishing data is that that other people can audit it and say, oh, well, the number, counts in your log doesn't match the
Yeah.
CVR, that doesn't, or that in the CVR doesn't match your.
Forensics, general.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's the advantage of all this open data, is that you allow third-party auditing tools and.
Well,
But it does seem like, to me, that there is some risk, because if a disabled person needs to use an accessible ballot marking device, shows up at the precinct that I work on election day, and they're the only person to do that day, like, that would not be weird at all. It sounds like even if there were multiple such people, there's not gonna be that many of them. It sounds like from these logs, you could tell when they voted. You wouldn't necessarily have a written record of who showed up when, but someone could observe that happening. If the ballot then also looked an identifiable way, like if you could look at a ballot and see that it came from a ballot marking device at the precinct, rather than it being a mail ballot or a hand marked ballot, which honestly you probably could, then that might reveal their vote.
Yeah.
But if you have early voting and you have electronic poll books, the logs from the electronic poll books might timestamp voters.
Yeah, I don't think that, so I don't know if they're just publishing transaction logs from scanning equipment, so it looks like that isn't happening.
Well, the whole thing is like, do the electronic poll books produce logs that would allow
Right.
people to correlate voter order with ballot order.
Right, it sounds like they're at least not publishing those though. So
Well,
maybe people inside could correlate it, but.
Yeah.
I mean, as long as the ballot CVR data itself is not, the order is not preserved, I think.
Well, but if from either the CVR or just like by looking at the image, you could tell that something was generated by an accessible device, and you could tell which
Oh,
precinct
I
it
see
came
what
from.
you're saying.
Well, and do they number the ballot images by sequence number, or do they not?
Well, you could
or is
like
it a
look
random
at the actual
number?
photo, right? Like if you look at the actual photo, you can presumably tell whether it was hand marked or
Well-
sheet marked.
Well, no, what I'm saying is, if you have a bunch of JPEGs or whatever, and it's called 001, 002,
right, I
003,
gotcha.
004, the file names are numbered, then,
Well, yeah, I mean, and Rowan, to your point, like,
Mhm.
that, the issue you raise is, that doesn't have to do with the transaction logs, that has to do with, like,
Right.
knowing the number.
Yeah, I guess you're right that even without the transaction log, you would be
Still
able
an
to,
issue,
yeah. Although, it's an issue because the use of accessible ballot marking devices is so rare. If more people use them, then you might need the logs, well, no, you still wouldn't.
You might remember this, but do you remember how like 6 years ago or 8 years ago, there was actually a state law that, like, every precinct, like, the poll workers had to make sure that at least 5 people used the accessible device.
Oh, interesting.
Oh,
So
really?
it was
I
like,
never-
we would tell people, like, can you, like, use this device? Cause like, it was for the reason that you mentioned, you know?
Right. Right, to have a minimum number of people so you can't correlate.
So what I wondered is, like, suppose you, I don't know, you're on a farm and your back lot, you know, crosses this school district, but you're in this precinct, but you're the only one that votes with ballot type 3. Then, it seems like they would know, like, who you are because you're the only one with ballot type 3 in precinct
Well, so
1000.
at least in San Francisco, all precincts have the same ballot. Every precinct has the same ballot type across the precincts.
Yeah, San Francisco is weird because they don't have very many districts.
Right, but they split precincts so that every precinct also has the same ballot type, and that results in some precincts being so small, they just make them mail vote only.
Yeah.
So there are a couple that are mail only. For
But
that
like
reason.
some place, like, I think it's LA County, you know, they number them, no, maybe it was, I don't remember. It's like 1000 A, B, C, D, so they're up to like G or H, so they have like 8 or 9 ballot types within one precinct.
Right. I guess it's sort of the same as the precinct merging stuff that they do here, where for smaller elections like the next month's one, they have fewer polling places in their precincts, so then some precinct, like some pairs of precincts vote at the same polling place, so
I mean,
it's
they could
sort of analogous.
consolidate it with, you know,
Yeah.
a different one, but then if you publish the results, I mean,
Yeah.
unless you like consolidate ballot type 3 with ballot type 3 from somewhere else.
Yeah, you just
Although-
end up with such small sets that, yeah.
Although I've seen cases where there's like a school district that crosses from one county into another, but it just barely comes in.
Right.
And sometimes there's no registered voters there, so they don't need to worry about it, but sometimes there's a few. But then,
But then-
anyone with that ballot type, well,
Yeah,
there's
but then no
only
matter
like
how
a
you
few
cut it,
people.
yeah, but no matter how you cut that, you have that problem, right? 'Cause like-
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, even like in a primary, if.
I
Right.
mean, I don't know how they deal with that.
If there's like a political party that only has like 2 people.
Registered in that precinct. I mean, that's easily imaginable, right?
Uh,
The number of people that are registered for some minor party that actually show up to vote in a primary, like that could actually be pretty small. Because we do also, I don't know if those records are public, I don't think those records are public, but they do exist, right, of who voted.
Yeah.
The city has
actually, I think HAVA required states to publish who voted.
Oh, great, so you can find out who.
And
like,
not
who
only
won.
that, they were required to publish your voter registration records with personal address.
But that information is even available posted outside the precincts.
Right.
You know that.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, so you could totally find out that there was only one person registered with, like, the American Independent Party or whatever.
So that's actually how I got my address lookup to work in Smart Voter in Pennsylvania, because they implemented the HAVA requirements to
Mm.
have a statewide voter registration database. So I was able to get the LWV of Pennsylvania to get a CD and send it to me, and then I wrote condensing software that remapped all the address ranges down to, or remapped all the precincts into address ranges. But actually that's how Google does it. They get the poll lookup database. It's actually a voter registration roll. So if you look up an address that doesn't have any registered voters, it can't give you the answer.
Anyway, going back to it sounds like we'll want to look at what data actually gets published out of the November election next month to see what we think of the stuff that they're publishing.
Yeah, so do we want to have an agenda item about the election next month?
Do you want to combine that with, next month? Oh, to talk about the election, post-election?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it'll be like 9 days after the election that we meet.
Yeah, and it'll be a wide ranging, I think.
Yeah, because we'll talk about the new system as well, and
Yeah. Okay, and if maybe there's any security incidents that happened.
yeah, or any interesting things that we were able to derive from the data that we shouldn't have been.
Yeah. Oh, well, this is only going to be San Francisco. There aren't really elections in other.
Yeah, no, but I mean even within the stuff,
Yeah.
we can see what all the new stuff that they publish, and
Right.
So are they planning on publishing the CVRs?
yes, let me find out where.
As
this
well
is
as the
at.
ballot images?
Yes. They will publicly post images of voted ballot cards on the website, and each image will be accompanied by an audit mark log. And so an audit mark log, like you said, is essentially a revisioned CVR. They're saying they're still figuring out how to do it, because they figured they would have like 100 to 150 gigabytes of data.
Yeah.
And those interested in viewing it will also be able to request a USB copy in person or via mail.
If we bring in our terabyte hard disk.
Exactly. And ballot images will be organized by supervisorial district, by precinct, and by ballot, by local mail or
It's like a vector.
Hmm?
If you're going to be giving like are they going to give you a USB stick, or you give them one?
It doesn't say.
Oh, I can give them a rubber
It
ducky?
request a
You know what a
USB
rubber
copy.
ducky is?
No. Is it a reference to like a movie or something?
No, it's a USB device that if you insert it into a computer, it says, oh, by the way, I'm a keyboard and a mouse, and please click over here, click open this, that, and it
Right.
hijacks your computer. So basically, unless you have special computers that have special software to secure any USB device, inserting it into the computer could compromise it.
Well, I didn't think any computer. I mean, I didn't know any computer was the one like that. But they're all vulnerable.
Well, by default, if you stick in I inserted this dongle for my wireless mouse, and it says, hey, you just inserted a mouse. Okay, and now it works. And well, not only that, but you can wiretap the wireless protocol and intercept the key, and also send keystrokes through these things.
Anyways, so going back to, so we're on the 7 topics of future discussion, so we'll talk about the election next month.
And we may have some voting system component stuff to go along with that, potentially.
Yeah, so should we move to the next item then, voting
Yeah.
system component development?
So there's no members of the public, so let's move on to item number 8, voting system component development. Okay, so, yeah, do you want to talk about Carl?
Okay, so, yeah, basically, we didn't get anything from the Department of Elections in terms of data, and
0 reports?
well, until Chris asked for 0 reports, and then we only got a summary file. So, but basically they did meet their obligation and they gave data to OmniBallot, they didn't give it to us. So I was able to download OmniBallot and they changed their format, but I worked like a Borg and I adapted to assimilate, and so mostly I'm able to create the election definition file that ORR uses. There's some IDs that are kind of messed up. And actually there was like I found out last night the ballot types codes were different than the real ballot type code, so I had to write software to fix that. So I think I have it fixed now.
What's the OmniBallot format like?
It's JSON and
Sensible?
pretty sensible.
What was different?
I don't remember. There's just slight changes in like how they code contests, like which fields they use and what fields they use for what. So
just to be clear, this is not the intended usage for these OmniBallot files, right? It's just a.
That's the only way we could get.
No, but I mean, what are these? What is the purpose? This is to like drive the UI. Is that?
We're trying to acquire the election definition.
No, I mean, these OmniBallot files.
They contain the names of the contests in all languages.
No, but, yeah, I know, but I mean, what is the, is it the department posting these, or is it OmniBallot posting these?
The department contracted OmniBallot to provide remote accessible vote by mail.
Yeah. No, what I mean is, are these OmniBallot files, are they posted under some like open data section of OmniBallot's website, or is it more like you're just inspecting the JavaScript code for the?
I screen scrape and hack their API.
Okay, yeah, so
It's
this is
basically,
not,
it's screen scraping their.
so this is not like the
working
intended
API.
purpose of the OmniBallot.
Right, the
files.
intended purpose of the JSON files is to create the, because they use some JavaScript with JSON API to create the HTML instead of just creating the HTML.
Okay. So it wouldn't necessarily qualify as open data.
No, well, it's open because I can get at it, but it's just readily hackable and in a reasonably convenient format.
But normally, so how much overlap is there between that and the zero reports? Like 80% or like 20%?
Well, okay, so then I can comment on the zero reports. So, like as I think I mentioned, like some of the fields are named like text box 3. So you have no idea. So, some of the fields I can figure out what they mean. Mostly I can figure out what they mean. So I think I should be able to convert the TSV format into our JSON file that OR uses to make the summary.
Is there anything?
But well, like there's no IDs in it, so there's a field for it, but it's missing. And then there's an XML file, but it's even like more bloated and convoluted. So they have, not only do they have like text box 7 / but it has like group data comp collection and then another element inside it, so it's got.
Does it have candidate names, zero reports?
Yeah, so I can extract contest names and candidate names, and I can match it up with the.
So you can kind of scrape by without the IDs, though?
Right.
Okay.
I'll just, I don't know, I guess you have to use string matches or something.
The close, the fuzzy.
And make, just assign number 1, 2, 3, 4, or whatever. And I have IDs from the original DFM.
You mean ORR ID?
Yeah, well, I've been thinking of just switching to a permanent ID that can work across all elections, and all the MSs. But that's like a upgrade. So anyway, but the thing is that we don't have, so one, there's data that we can't figure out what it is because it's not labeled. There's
Well,
some missing stuff, and then
but is it?
it's only summary data, so it doesn't have the precinct level detail that we had before.
Well, okay, there's missing data, but of the things that you need, what's missing?
I think it has,
Just.
it should have almost everything what's critical.
Okay, but the precinct level's not there.
So the other thing is that they're required, each election official is required to do test ballots, but it has to be no less than 7 days before an election. So that might mean, I don't know, they could run it next week, they could run it like at the end of the month, but we don't know. But the thing is, in theory, if they do that, there should be data from that test. Or it should be,
tests?
what?
The LNA tests or something else?
Well, they have to validate that the equipment's working.
Is this the LNA logic and accuracy tests?
I guess that's what it's called.
Yeah, I don't, the date of that testing should be on the website.
Do they actually publish that?
The schedule, yeah, and you can attend to that too.
Right, but the thing is that if we can get the data that comes out of that test, we can use that
I see what you're saying.
as like
I see.
sample data to write our software.
Well, let me know, well, send me another email, like, and I can try again to get more information. Like,
So, I mean, what are they planning on publishing?
I don't know, nothing. I mean, I don't know if they've made a statement to that effect. It's probably. I mean, what I'm saying is if there's, like, now that you've looked at it, if there's specific files that you think would be helpful that we're still missing, we can request this again, but as a second pass,
Yeah.
So, and like the LNA results can be another one of them.
So so I'm just wondering, would we be, well, I'm not sure what kind of precinct level detail reports they have.
Yeah, that should be something else we should ask for.
And will they have precinct level details on their test?
My understanding is that the LNA tests are done for each precinct. So I think there should be a file for each precinct. I mean, I think we.
I'm not sure how they, or what they do exactly.
They do things like they'll feed in a test, like 10 test ballots in a scanner, and then they'll.
Well, they mark ballots and they know what the answer should be, and
Yeah.
they feed them in, and then you count the results, and then it should match what you.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we could ask for the printout from one of those.
Well, whatever data files they plan to publish.
Yeah. Could ask for that.
Including whatever they use to make a statement of vote. So most counties don't publish the precinct detail. They'll publish a PDF file, that's the paper report that they are required to file. But they don't publish computer readable. So San Francisco is an exception in that they publish the, but almost no, I think LA County, used to be San Mateo County, published the raw computer result file from the county system. They all publish this, it goes through some, I think Dominion uses XSLT, and that's what they use to create their XML file.
Okay, well,
And their PDF actually looks like it comes from HTML.
yeah, I mean, I'm not, the thing is, it's not like, I don't get the impression they're like withholding information. It's more like, I don't think they have a full grasp of what's things yet themselves, but,
Could be.
yeah. So, yeah, so we could try.
But I mean, I guess at this point, I don't really see that we're gonna be able to get access to data before the election.
I know, I'm not really.
So it's like, we can't really provide anything useful because we can't get that data.
Well, I mean, yeah, I don't think.
I mean, after the fact, we can, but.
Yeah, I don't think we should like aim to have something work in election night, because, yeah, we don't, all the information we're gonna get in advance is gonna be like.
Few
we have
hours.
No, we have no idea.
Yeah.
What resemblance this is gonna have to the real stuff, so, yeah,
So I can write a data converter to convert I guess we'll assume that the summary file that they gave us a sample of is a file that they will post.
yeah. So, I mean, the question is, do we wanna meet again, like, I mean, given that, like, even if we're not gonna be able to have our software working on election night, is it still worth trying to prepare as a group, or?
You mean meet again before the election?
Yeah.
What will we be preparing for?
I think, like, doing something after the fact, but like.
I mean, the difference, if I had an hour tonight, I could probably write a converter that could create the summary data, so we could run ORR on the new version.
I think if we were able to have a results page, like, that's working, like, while the canvas is still going on, like, I think that would be useful. Or like, within a week after the election day.
Yeah, that would be nice.
So I think if we, met before the election, we worked on more of our issues, got more of the stuff prepared, and we can meet like after the election to see if we can get.
So the only thing is, if we can get the precinct level test data, then.
Well, like, the other thing is, like, the RCV results weren't even a part of it either. That's
Right.
something you pointed out to me.
Right.
So.
So we don't know what that's gonna look like.
Yeah, is it gonna be the same HTML as before? I don't know.
Well, and also the department has, I think you were saying that, that they have their own custom results reporter. So
They need to update that.
well, or they could just like ship can it and just upload the HTML file that comes out of Dominion.
I'm not gonna do that though,
Well, I wouldn't be, I
Well,
would actually think that's probable.
No, well, that's not what the director told me.
Okay.
So, I mean,
So then are they working with IT to upgrade their converter?
apparently, yeah. I mean,
And
I
then
haven't.
IT gets the data that we're not getting?
Well, I don't know, I haven't spoken in person, like, since they've got more information, but they're basically doing the same thing that you're trying to do, but because they work in there every day, they could probably get access to stuff a lot easier. So.
It just could be they're busy doing a zillion things and like
Yeah.
having some yokel say, hey, can you give us data? Okay, here it is, and then that's it.
Yeah, I mean, right.
As opposed to open data where
Well,
the
the
whole
thing
thing
is,
is open.
no, but the thing is, I mean, like I said, this is the first time through with the zillion things
Yeah.
runs, so maybe like, the second election with the system, they're gonna be more prepared to do stuff in advance. But, so what are people's availabilities, like, just in weekends in general? Are there, like, Rowan, are you traveling any weeks, or?
No, I'm not traveling this time.
Okay, and then generally, are people available on Saturdays and Sundays?
Well, I do have poll worker training, of course. So that cuts into, so this immediately coming weekend, I'm not available, and then.
Either day? Or,
Either,
sorry,
yeah.
I mean, a week from, okay. let's
Yeah,
see.
You mean,
I mean,
2 days?
It's too late for us to
Yeah,
meet
we can't
anyway,
schedule
we
it.
can't schedule that. The weekend following, I have poll worker training on Saturday, which kinda cuts into my availability for most of that day, but I'm free on Sunday.
I think I'm free on Sunday.
Okay,
The weekend following that, I would actually prefer, like the 26th, 27th
how about you?
is, I think, what I would
I
prefer.
probably can make one of those.
Okay, okay. Okay. Maybe we'll do work for that.
But I guess, Chris, maybe you could ask about whether we could get like a full set of data from, when are they doing their test, and is it possible that they publish the files that are created?
Let's look on the website right now, look up LNA testing.
Oh, maybe they actually have it on their schedule, huh?
Yeah, it's on there.
Do they have a plan?
Yeah.
Oh, because it's open to the public, then they have to, say what it is.
Oh, it's probably under us to observe the elections process. Schedule activities. Okay, yeah, it already, so they've already done the testing for the scanners.
So, can you ask them, do they have any computer files? And, are they using those?
Yeah.
Are they using those to test the
Actually,
result software?
yeah, I'll ask. Hopefully they haven't deleted the files. So, if you click on Get Involved, and then
Where's Get Involved?
at the top, it's the top row.
Oh, here we go.
And then Observe the elections process. And then there's a Schedule activities in that page.
Oh, it's October 4 to 7.
Yeah.
And October 15, that means they haven't
Yeah,
finished.
there's 1 day left, yeah. But that's only for the central. Okay.
So that's strange, they do 2 a day, a 7th, and then another one on the 15th?
I don't know, yeah, I don't know.
Well, and then I wonder, are they, it says live stream, does that mean that they photograph people doing it?
Yeah, they video, like a live video.
Okay, so you can see people feeding stuff in there, but did they run the ballot counting software on it?
I think so on the old equipment, I went to one of the tests that they did on the old equipment, and I think they did do it. So like what I saw them do was they just had like a whole, because they test all of them, right? Like all 600 of them or something. So they just had like a whole row of them out. And there was a tech going through and had the same stack of like 20 ballots or something. They was just like starting up a machine, initializing it, feeding the 20 ballots through, and then basically shutting it down again, and then pulling the memory card out and putting it in a box, and then feeding ballots through the next one. And at some point they take the box of memory cards and go like load them all into the computer and check if they're right. So I don't know if they run the software necessarily, but they do use something to like plug the memory card into your computer and inspect that it has the data in it that it should.
Well, I just wonder if they tested the counting software.
Right.
Well, was that on the schedule?
Well, it's not a separate line item.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good question.
But this is something that you can find out by showing up at the warehouse where they, like, I just, like, when
Well,
they
it's
publish
over
when
like
they do it.
3 days, right? It was this
Yeah.
week.
October 15th.
Well, there's another one on the well, it was
Oh,
4th
that's
through
right,
7th.
yeah.
What today's, so it was last week, I
What are
guess.
you
Oh,
doing
sorry.
next Tuesday?
Was, that filing my taxes.
Yeah.
Or, yeah.
Oh, is that the 15th next Tuesday?
15th is not even, oh yeah,
That's,
it's
the-
Tuesday.
that's the last opportunity to do the online
Yeah.
testing. Just bring a USB stick.
Right.
You could just insert the USB stick into the actual device and download it.
You should look at the reports from DEF CON on the voting village.
Yeah, I will.
They said people just like plug their keyboard into a USB port inside the voting machine and they had got a root shell.
Okay, so.
So
Alright.
one issue is like what would we like to do or since we last played
Yeah.
with it.
Yeah, I don't know, like, how are the issues looking?
Let me pull it up. There's a bunch of them that are kind of for me that I haven't looked at or that I haven't worked on because I just haven't had much time in the last month or two. Where is?
I know on my list I wanted to get have the renderer be done on push, you know?
Oh, yeah, have it.
So the what?
Have the demo page update on
Mm.
server automatically when we commit code to the sample.
So let's see,
You mean like with a sample repository.
the issues that I
If we
think-
update the sample repository data, then it updates the content.
Yeah, the demo repo, I mean.
Or the demo repo.
So we don't have to run it on the machine locally and push the files.
Oh.
So the issues that I think.
Oh, you wanna get it set up so it can run on Git.
Yeah. And that's
GitHub.
not hard, it's just.
So the issues that I think would improve the quality of the output that we have open are indicate vote threshold where relevant, indicate success failure of measures, and remove dotted line where not applicable or useful. So those are some front-end issues that I have not yet worked on, but I think I have all the data I need for that now.
It should be in the JSON.
Yeah, exactly, and I think it's all there, I just haven't had the time to actually write the code to use that in the output. So those would be good ones for me to focus on, I think, because that would make the output meaningfully better. And then,
So one other thing is, like maybe there's the data in the JSON, but it's not really convenient for the template. So like in my smart voter system,
Mhm.
I use a lot of functions to like convert stuff into
Yeah.
a like nice format. So thing is, if something is like not convenient, I think it's easy to just add like either filter functions or extra
Yeah,
attribute
dynamic
functions on the
attributions,
classes
yeah.
that can like format information
Yeah, definitely.
nicely. And it's
Um,
better to do it there than like
Than in-
add all kinds
yeah,
of weird
absolutely.
code into the template.
yeah, because the subset of Python that you can even use in a template is also limited, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, that.
So anyway, I was just saying, feel free to
Yeah, I will do that
like
if I need to.
consider helper functions that
Yeah, for sure.
that would give data in a format that's do some simple calculations or whatever to do
Yeah.
data.
And then my dream is to have like some sort of machine readable output generated so that I can do like dynamic per precinct results. But given the small amount of time that I've been able to put towards this project in the past few months, that doesn't seem like something I'm very likely to get done before the election, but that's still something I intend to work on eventually.
Okay.
I mean, you could just, you could either use the templates to do it, or just
Yeah.
write a little Python script that will
So the more
do a
back-end
transpose on the data.
Are you more interested in doing something with that data, or are you more just wanna have it available for other people to use?
The latter mostly. I would like it.
Did
I
you
would
have
like
a-
it to be easier for people to find out, like, how did my district or my precinct vote on an issue, or like how did different.
Is there a particular person you know that actually wants to do something, or is it?
I've gotten a handful of people asking me, like, how did such and such district vote on the school board race or
No,
whatever.
but what I mean is, who would be the one that would, do you know a certain person that would be able to write that client code?
Oh, yeah, I can do that.
Oh, you
That's-
would
Yeah,
consider
yeah,
that
that's
too?
well within my, like, is well within the kind of stuff that I do at my work.
So you're interested with the former and the latter, not?
Oh, sorry, yes, I'm interested in developing that code, I'm also interested in having it available.
Okay.
So I want to get some sort of, we talked about this last meeting too, like, and you were saying, like, maybe you just generate the entire cross table, because it would like be only a megabyte or
Oh,
something.
you did the back of the envelope calculation.
Yeah, back in the envelope, and then it was about the same number that it actually turned out to be, like 2 megs or something.
Yeah, that was pretty good.
So there is an issue about generating some sort of data output like that, so that a feature like that could be built. Once that exists, I can build it.
Okay,
And then people won't have to like DM me to figure out.
would that be, what's the effort in that compared to the?
More than the other stuff, so
Yeah.
that's not what I'm prioritizing at all.
Okay.
But like I said, it's my dream, so I'm gonna continue to dream that dream, and at some point I will have enough, let's hope it's not Christmas or something, but at some point I will have enough time to do it.
So one of my dreams too was to allow you to not just get all contests on the ballot, but get contests on a ballot for a particular ballot type.
Right.
Which is pretty easy to add into the existing OR.
Yeah, so exactly, I wouldn't be able to do it.
But I want to do it for multiple reasons.
Yeah, exactly, so that data would be helpful, but also speaking of issues that are more sort of back-ended, like the area that you guys have been working on, that are open and that would help enable stuff down the line. There's an old issue from when we first started using issues about how the data model should include result stats for each RCV round. So like, I forget the exact details of that, but there's some sort of statistics that are generated for the whole election, but not.
Is it?
Oh,
I
like
think we
undervotes,
calculate
overvotes,
results
so.
on the grand totals, not each round.
Like the number of continuing ballots and the number of exhausted ballots and the number of overvoted ballots, like those change for every round, and I think that data is not currently available in the data model.
It is.
Is it?
Yeah.
Well, maybe it's not being displayed.
It may not be displayed.
If it's in there, that would be nice. I mean, on March 11th, when I wrote the issue, I don't think it was there, but.
Well, I'll look right now.
Okay.
Okay.
But basically, it's the same. It's in it, the way it works, each row of the table represents
it's-
totals for a given
not-
contest.
Mhm.
It's not, yeah, here's,
But whether it's a precinct total or whether it's an RCV round, it's the same
Yeah.
format.
it's not listed.
It's not listed in the output.
But it's in the, if you looked at the TSV file, it's
Mhm.
there.
Yeah, so I don't know if.
So this is your task. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, so
It's
that's
your
the thing.
fault.
I think if you used, like the
Well-
existing API that you wrote, the existing APIs that you wrote for me to interrogate the data model, I think
It's
it
not
doesn't
there.
give you that, yeah.
But you could add another row.
Oh, yeah,
to this
yeah,
table.
yeah, I want to,
That's the
but.
task.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to, and that's part of the task, but
I don't know how it would look going, a staircase
Yeah.
thing, but,
I guess it might no longer be a staircase, but.
or you could just make it a separate table, like have a little
Yeah,
gap and then a
I'll see
separate
how we do
table
it,
with
but
undervotes,
the
overvotes.
important point is that the data is in there somewhere, but I think the the API that Chris wrote for me to like interrogate the data model and get those rounds
could
out
be-
doesn't give me that information. I
I
don't think.
wouldn't call it an API. It's more
Okay.
just
Yeah,
hacked together.
quick hack.
Sure, but that's
I remember
functionally what it
because you
is.
said, oh, it's there, and then you said, okay, I'll write something to produce.
And so the next issue is
hours
similar.
or whatever.
Yeah, I'm not,
The next issue is similar in that when you ask for certain things, sometimes I think most of the APIs do distinguish between what is a choice and what is a result stat. But I think the one for interrogating per precinct data doesn't. And that's,
very likely, yeah.
you can infer why that's important. And then another thing that I don't know, Carl, if that's even in your data, we've talked about it before, is the sort of per precinct breakdowns. It has precincts, but it also has like neighborhoods and supervisorial districts and assembly districts and stuff. And I don't think the data records like, I mean, it would be fantastic if it recorded what the components were, right? Like this neighborhood is composed of these precincts or whatever.
Oh, I have that
But-
separately.
Right. But even if it didn't, the much more elementary thing is like, it would be great to know just which ones are sort of base level precincts and which ones are aggregations of precincts. Cause right now I can't, without like trying to like scrape the text of it, I can't really tell the difference between like precinct 9101 is a fundamentally different thing than District 9, right? And I can't really programmatically tell the difference right
You
now.
want the hierarchical information.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, ideally it would have the hierarchy, but even if I don't have the actual hierarchy, it would be useful to know which are the leaf nodes and which are like the
Well,
non-leaf
so
nodes.
actually, precincts, there's a few precincts that are consolidated,
Yeah.
but it's like 4 or something.
Yeah,
It's not very many.
But I mean, we can just treat those as precincts as well. I'm just saying like,
But, and then sometimes there's like, you might have like a, I don't know, congressional district or something that
Yeah.
has 1 precinct in it, or.
Yeah.
Or just a couple.
yeah, but basically what I'm saying is it would be useful if those things are types, right? If I could say like, this is a precinct, this is a neighborhood, this is a congressional district, this is an assembly district.
So what I mentioned before, and I think it's not there, are, I forget what I called it. It's like a district classification,
Yeah, exactly.
Area or something.
or area,
Yeah.
yeah, because we generalized, precincts are an area
Just like an assembly district.
type,
area.
and,
Yeah.
precinct is an area, and an assembly district is an area,
Yeah.
school district is an area.
Right, and right now I don't have I have a list of areas, but I don't have the information about what type
And
each area
so I
is.
basically just need to write a table, well, I need to add a config file item that will do some pattern matching to,
Assign-
generate the classification code.
Yeah.
Right, so this is
In other
issue-
words, I look for like assembly district in
Yeah.
the name, or.
Yeah, but it would be useful if on my end I had some sort of data on, if I had like a type field. That
So
said this is an 80
also the
or-
question is, do you need to know what the types are? that are
I don't really
included?
need,
Or
I
a
don't
list
really
of
need to know what the types
classifications?
mean necessarily.
No, but do you want the list, like, do you need to iterate over the
Yeah, I would like to be able to do
classifications?
that, because I would like to have
Not-
like, yes, I would like to do that, because I like to be able to have like precincts, lists of precincts, assembly districts, lists of assembly districts, congressional districts, lists of congressional districts, that's
Neighborhoods.
something I would like people to do, yeah, neighborhoods, exactly. So I would like to have at least like a 2-level hierarchy where there's like precincts, neighborhoods, assembly districts, senate districts, congressional districts, etc. Even if I don't know like which precincts compose which assembly districts, which is much more advanced information, I would at least like to know that type.
Wait,
But
why
then-
would it be useful to know a neighborhood without knowing the precincts inside it?
Well, in his data, he has the totals for each neighborhood.
Oh, he does, okay.
Yeah. And I agree with you, if you told me which precincts compose a neighborhood, then I could just derive that as well by just adding up all the totals. But right now,
So it's slightly redundant.
yes. Well, it's not technically redundant right now because it doesn't tell you which precincts compose a neighborhood, right? Although you could.
Well, you
maybe-
could probably write code to.
Exactly, because there's probably only one solution, right? But I'm not gonna do that. I'm not
Numbers and
gonna
add
do
them up
that.
and see which numbers are.
Yeah, you can linear algebra this, I'm sure.
Might be an NP complete problem.
I'm sure it
Yeah,
is.
it's,
No.
I did find out to my own peril that the square of the number of ballots in an SF election is a very large number that you don't want to iterate over.
So, but if you're giving precinct, detail, that if you have a page on a precinct, then, you might wanna list like what districts that precinct is
Yeah, I might
in.
want to know the parents of that,
Like which
like other things that
neighborhood
contain a
and
precinct.
everything.
Yeah, I
And then
do.
you can also link off to the
This
is
summary
the
pages.
second-
for those.
Well, exactly, so
Second-
in my dreams, yes, I would have that information. But the smaller request that I'm making of you that is much more feasible to implement short-term is tell me what the type of each area is.
So anyway, I have a file that has the
Okay, great.
precincts per district and districts per precinct. The only thing I have to do is load it into RAM.
Alright, that would also be helpful, but
uh,
then separately, I would also like area types.
But the area type has been on my list, and
Okay.
now I remember it's on the list, so I wrote it down here. So, yeah, it's good that we had this discussion because
Great.
that's useful and it's been on my list to
Mhm.
do.
Yeah, that would be
And
helpful.
I have code to do it already. It's
Just needs to be activated.
well, so I have config files that that I can put in pattern matching and they can do pattern matching operations, so.
Mhm. Okay.
Alright,
All right, okay, sounds good. We'll try
So,
to-
you know, so we have like 600 precincts. So if you generate 600 files, it'll probably take 30 seconds. Well, no, maybe longer
yeah,
than
we
that,
talked,
but
we
I
talked
mean,
about this last time
if-
too, but, yeah.
So, I mean, rather than trying to like generate a page every time someone accesses it, you could.
Yeah, no, and
like,
I'm
redo
probably
it.
gonna do something like that. We'll see. Anyway,
Okay,
I would also like to get out of here at some point, so let's,
well, yeah. Okay, so then, there's no public here, so we don't need to do public comments. Anything else? Otherwise I'll adjourn.
No, I guess I was just wondering about, like detail, like, is it really that relevant, like, how people voted in your precinct? I mean, like, if you went by supervisorial district. it
Supervisorial
seems like
district, I think is-
that would be like
yeah.
more interesting to see and compare.
yes, for individual precincts, I mean, people make maps because it's so much data, right? It's easier to, if
Yeah, you could do
you
color.
visualize it.
So actually, well, that's another area, I guess, it's sort of on the list.
Yeah, but that's the
Maybe
next
it's
step up
too
from.
much for.
That's his other dreams.
That's the dream after the dream, yeah, exactly, yeah.
So I do have the geographic data for,
Right.
precincts.
Right, yeah, and I know that, I also know somebody who has made maps of SF election data recently, so
Okay,
I can also.
okay, so that, I'm gonna adjourn the meeting now. The time is now 9:09 PM. That adjourns the meeting. Have a wonderful evening.